Michelle, are you ready?
I was born ready.
She's an award-winning author, speaker, and podcast host who serves on the National Faith Advisory Council. She supported Donald J. Trump for president before it was cool. From her she shed in her beautiful backyard, this is the Michell Moore Show.
Okay, well, let's talk about Kevin Hoyt. Let's bring him in. He is a truther who is running for governor in Vermont. Hello, Kevin.
Hey, Michelle, thanks for having me back. What a great opener that was, by the way. Like,
Oh,
wow.
that renegade?
Yeah, absolutely. You can say, a picture tells 1,000 words. You got a lot of pictures in that video, and man, is it incredible the times we're living in. Thanks for having me. Like I said, appreciate it.
Oh, yes. Excited that you're with us. So, okay. So before we get into just the policies that you're running on, will you give us a little bit of backstory about you? You've been on before, you ran last time. You have some of the craziest stories, by the way. And so where they've tried to take you out and do all kinds of stuff and not for dinner, take you out.
I just called the Vermont Attorney General again. That's again the highest up the food chain, right? This is the third time in the last 60 days. Hey, I'm Kevin Hoyt. I'm a 2024 candidate for Vermont State Governor. They're trying to kill me. They cut my brake lines. I want to report human trafficking all the way down to felony gun crimes and obstruction. Still haven't got a call back, Michelle. That's the Attorney General. And this is the new Attorney General. The old Attorney General, TJ Donovan, again, he's no longer there because of our RICO investigation. So my background, I am the self-identified governor of Vermont. Didn't get the seat. I got cheated. Didn't get the money, the influence, or the power, but we're doing it anyway is the important part. And again, a 2024 candidate. I'm just a deer hunter. I'm a regular guy. And again, I'm a native Vermonter. We don't have any Vermont butts in those Vermont seats. They're all from out of state, right? So there's a couple new things. So I think I finally got, I guess, mad enough or scared enough, right? Fight or flight. And historically, Vermonters don't make good runners. So I was sick of watching my friends and neighbors suffer. And I didn't know if I could live in the state that I love with the people I love. So I threw my hat in the ring in 2018 for House of Representatives. Knew nothing about politics, like most people watching. Successfully avoided politics and religion most of my life, like most sane people. But then I ran, right? And then I got my butt handed to me from a guy from Chicago. And that blessing triggered an election audit. So then I did an election audit and found out how bad it was. And then it's been world headline news scandals after that. From there, I ran for governor in 2020. Governor in 2022. Again, nobody ever heard of me. They run from me for good reason. From debate, the media, we're taking them with them. The media will avoid me. Again, that's all part of the cheat. They start right from the beginning. So as again, I was a reporting party for our multi-state federal RICO investigation. Everybody told me to tell my sheriff the statewide issue law enforcement BOLO, that's a be on the lookout, for my sheriff and my high bailiff were for human trafficking, murder, obstruction. So I'm the guy that turned my sheriff in. And then after that, we went to judicial and we started climbing the ladder. In the last 16 months, we've removed 120 officials from Vermont State, but nobody knows about it. It's still under wraps. So again, we're talking about the Secretary of State, James Kondos, intimate connections with Wan Ping. That's the Chinese Communist Party. Same with my governor, Phil Scott. So it's from the top to the bottom. They own everything from the clerks to the appeals courts. And so in the meantime, what do? I started a news network and started a law firm, and I'm looking at a production company right now, and we're looking at these amazing new healing devices again. I know you're a part of that, new technology. And what I wanted to talk about today was solutions. There's lots of gloom and doom. We got a great show coming up again with Mike Gill tomorrow. You're going to be on my show. We're going to talk about these trust issues, right? Because we all have trust issues for some odd reason. And to answer your caller's question there, that call in where you're saying you don't know, like we have everything, right? They're talking about us, not Donald Trump, not the military. We, the people, have everything. They're not going to be able to walk down the streets. Have you seen your favorite politician lately? Right?
No.
And this is as easy as talking. So that's kind of how I got famous, because for years I went to my officials with these scandals and said, hey, look at this evidence. And they ignored me. I know why, because they were complicit now. Didn't know that back then. Gave it to you guys and you laughed at me because it sounds kind of crazy. It's like in this little hometown, Podunk, Vermont, right? Yeah, it's pretty bad, right? So then in 2019, just about the same time, we had the military funeral, which I think was the 17th, right, of January. That matches your gravestone theory. Is there anybody in Virginia? Can we get some
I
boots on the
know,
ground?
right?
A couple million people in Virginia. Can somebody go over to, verify if that's true or not? But it matches up. A lot of things matches up, right? So I don't know what to do other than talk. And I think that's as
Okay.
easy as this is tell
All
people,
right. Yeah.
exposure,
Yeah.
right?
All right. So, Kevin, before we get started, because I definitely want to get into your policies, but you said something that I
Right.
think my viewers are probably like, what did he just say? So, you said that there are 120 elected officials that have
Right.
been taken out of office. So, is
Correct.
this in the
Correct.
last, what, two years?
No, about 16 months, 15 months. And again, we're talking about House of Representative members, senators, judges, right to the top. Again, my Secretary of State. They've resigned, retired, moved. A couple of them got arrested, but not for what they're telling you. And again,
Sure.
that's the idea of covert. That means secret for anybody that doesn't know. So we have a covert operation. And again, going back in history, again, um, there's two agencies again in my hypothesis here, right? So you have the feds and the military that are arresting your elected officials, and then in our case we have the Vermont State Police Bureau of Criminal Investigation Major Crimes Unit, and they're arresting your appointed or hired officials in the secondary tier, if you will, right? So when the lead investigator for the state police, his name was Trudeau, just like the guy in Canada, probably related.
Mhm.
When Trudeau told TJ Donovan, our attorney general, he was under investigation. That's a no-no. Our lead investigator told the guy we were investigating he was under investigation. This is for the Vermont federal grand jury, which was supposed to be a secret. I knew about it back then, but I couldn't tell anybody, right? But what happened then is what Trudeau called our Secretary of State, said you're under investigation. He made 3 phone calls. They're all taped and logged. He called Chief Justice Cohen, right, which is now we're talking about the Vermont Superior Court. Then he called Judge Carzones in Rutland, Vermont. His wife just happens to run the Vermont bar. And then he called James Colvin down in Bennington, who runs all those illegal matching EIN numbers. We live in a society of illegal shell companies, right? So the Child Advocacy Center, or the Vermont New Hampshire Christmas Tree Association, or PAVE, the Project Against Violent Encounter, Turning Point, the Vermont Sheriff's Association. That's a big one. It has a matching EIN with my judge. Those are illegal business fronts for money laundering and embezzlement. And it's not just our taxes. Enter Mike Gill, right? Same thing.
Yeah.
It's pay to play. It's the federal mafia, and then it goes on a state record. And again, Mike, I become good friends with Mike too. The Sununu cartel, think of it as a mafia instead of government, right? Sununu
That's right.
runs Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. My governor works for him. All of the elections are done out of Salem, New Hampshire, LHS management. We don't even handle our own elections up here. So it's all connected, right? That's where we seem scattered sometimes. I know this stuff like it's because I've been living it for 8 years, right? But
Yeah.
this is all verifiable, and I hope people don't believe me. I'm just a deer hunter from Bennington. Why would you believe me? Go look. I'll give you the links. I'll give you some advice, and then you
Yeah.
can go look.
Check it
Again,
out.
this is the doom and gloom. So number one policy. Again,
All right.
Michelle,
Let's talk about that.
we
Yeah.
did
So
right
you're running
now.
for governor.
Yeah.
And so let's start with you get elected. What's the first thing you do?
Well, it's funny. I was saying off air, if I was magically elected tomorrow, I would stop the government in Vermont state. I'd declare a state of emergency for corruption, and I'd do a 20-year audit on spending and election, and no one would be left, right? But let's say I'm in, right? One of my biggest things, again, I've got a couple executive orders that are going to come. Number one is term limits, because I don't see themselves voting themselves out of a job. With the swipe of a pen, I'm going to write myself and all of them out of a job, right? That's the idea, to make sure this accumulation of wealth and power never happen again. I will do that. The second one is clean air. I like clean air, clean water, clean food, right? And the chemtrails, the stuff we're being sprayed with, the geoengineering, the nanoparticles. I will stop that with executive order. There'll be no more spraying of Vermonters in our food. And then the other one I really like is a 2A sanctuary state. We used to be safe here in Vermont state. In the last 10 years, our homicide rate has grown by 166%. And of course, we average about an overdose a day just in my little hometown of Bennington. So that pandemic that everybody forgot about, that's my number one policy actually, is opioids. I've got a
Yeah.
way out, a proven way out. And again, I want to follow Holland and Portugal. Sounds really crazy at first. I want to decriminalize these drugs, right? And they actually legalized it. That's not what I want to do. If I catch you trafficking it, right, or selling it, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. You're never going to see the daylight again. But I'm talking about your everyday user, your average guy. I want to treat that as a sick part of society rather than a criminal part of society. And I want to offer them real rehab like we've never seen before in the United States. Like right now, an addict, right? And specifically, I guess I'm talking about opioids. Heroin is the big one, right? But they get about a 3-day window and they're out of drugs and they're out of money and they're sick and tired of being sick and tired too. And they say, I want help. Okay, for $800 and in 10 days, if there's a bad maybe. And then even if they go through that, it's not rehab. It's a 28-day detox, right? And then we send them right back to the same situations. You've done a lot of shows on who's bringing it in. My experience, again, law enforcement has a lot to do with the distribution as well. So I'm talking about real rehab. So 3 months to 18 months, a year and a half of your life. If I catch you falling out in a local gas station bathroom, that's mandatory rehab, right? 3 months. And again, you can volunteer for more. But I'm talking about real rehab with jobs training and mental health facility and all these things. And everybody says, well, Kevin, who's going to pay for that? Well, we are. We're already paying for it. Right now, we pay to Narcan them 10 times. We send them to rehab 15 times. Eventually, we pay to put them in jail, and then we pay to put them in a coffin. And our coroners can't keep up with it. Our morgues, they're keeping them with the, funeral homes because there's not enough room for the bodies. This is a real issue for everybody. An entire generation's being wiped right off the map. So again, I want to provide facilities, and if people can follow that vision with me, talking about hundreds of facilities all over the state of Vermont. So now I need architects and engineers and landscapers and nurses and doctors and plumbers, jobs, economic growth and development. Here's another word that you haven't heard from a politician in a long time: return on investment. I love my neighbors and friends in New York and New Hampshire and Massachusetts, and they have a problem with addiction too. So if I get my way, Vermont is going to lead our nation out of that opioid crisis. And again, they've done this in Portugal. They started in Holland. In Portugal, it took them a couple decades, about 19 years. I think they're into it now. They reduced heroin usage by 75%, overdoses by 85%, crime rates by like 400. Ours, literally not only doubles, it's growing by 2, 3, 400% a year, right? That's unacceptable to me. So I care about those people. I love those people too. I have empathy and sympathy and compassion. I think we're all addicted to something, right? Maybe not heroin, maybe alcohol, sex, drugs, food, work, whatever it is. So I want to, again, treat them as a sick part of society rather than a criminal. And it's as easy as taking the money that we're putting into law enforcement and incarceration and diverting it over to prevention and treatment.
And I think too, one of the things that I think I could easily think as I'm listening to you is, well, the need isn't really there. But you know what, Kevin, that's not true. I was talking with Mike the other day, and he was on the show on Friday, and we were talking about this. He was telling a story that he had told me like earlier in the week, and I said, "Oh my gosh, we got to talk about this on the air." He said, that he actually had a conversation at a meeting with the gentleman that was the coroner's office, the head coroner in his area. And that guy was telling him, he said, the opioid usage when someone dies, he was being told what to put on the death certificates, and they were lying intentionally, calling it, heart attacks or this or that, just so that way the American people would not become aware of how bad the crisis is. And so I remember thinking that when Trump was in office, why does he keep talking about opioids? And I remember Melania talking about it and thinking, is this that big of a deal? And then when I talked with Mike, it hit me. Oh my gosh, it really was that big of a deal back then and still is.
It's
And so,
giant.
this will be a great conversation.
Even the numbers that they give us are astounding. Like totally. And I live in Bennington, Vermont. It's a little tiny podunk, Vermont. We average an overdose a day. I want people to
Oh,
think
wow.
that's just as, one little New Hampshire is off the hook. Again, Sununu, right? That's where most of it's coming in. That's the Sununu drug cartel. They're selling drugs, they're selling, all sorts of things, including our children. All this goes to human trafficking. I found another whole human trafficking ring this morning involving police chiefs, involving House of Representatives, involving judges, involving real estate companies, bankers. Like people don't know the scale of this. It's it's
Mhm.
pretty incredible.
Yeah. I'm working with a whistleblower right now, and she's very well informed when it comes to the Mormon Church in Utah, and another whistleblower, and between the two of them, it's a man and then a woman. But the things that you find out, it's interesting. You talked about real estate because many people don't understand there is a whole thing with real estate, mortgages, and payoffs to judges and how they do it through the mortgages, and you're just like, holy cow! It's almost just it's you wonder how can you fix it all because it's so awful. Okay. Well, okay. So the first thing you said when it came to policies was opioid. What about when it or crisis, the opioid crisis? So tell us about education reform.
Well, I think education for first of all, we got to get that cost down there. What happened is they can't possibly ask you for any more taxes because they're already, violating you. But they do anyway. They're still asking. But what they have to do is they bury it in education. That's another racket. That's another scam, right? Because no one can say no to education. It's your kids. And anybody watching, I want you to ask yourself a question. Are your kids in school so they can get an advance in education and advance on life, or are they there as a daycare service? And that's a very real question. From Gary, the transgender dinosaur, to critical race theory, Chinese core curriculum. That's Chinese. That's the CCP core curriculum is in your school, right? So making kids wear masks during gym class, all the way up through. They're telling you even we don't need parental consent. When your kids come to school, we're going to teach them and do whatever we want with them, right? Force
Mhm.
vaccinations right up through. Get your kids out of those schools is my advice for everybody. And I think, again, the future is charter schools, private schools, and homeschools. And it's as simple as the money follows the student. If you're going to homeschool, that money stays home with you, right? And now the resistance that I get is from, if you can find a two-parent home, that's pretty rare to start with. A lot of single parents out there now, that's in the 60 percentile. But if you find a two-parent home, it's like, geez, Kev, we're both working 3 jobs because they only give us 32 hours and no benefits. And we're just cranking it out, trying to make a living. We can't possibly stay home and have one of us take care of the kids. Well, if everybody did that, that means no students, no school. You just saved 85% of your taxes. Here's another thing. We got a lot of teachers that didn't want to be vaccinated, or they could see that indoctrination and they got out. You get 8 or 10 parents together, you hire a teacher, you pay them
Yep.
individually. The teacher's making more probably than they're making at the school. Your child, again, you can focus on the curriculum that you want to teach then, and your child's in a class of 10 instead of 40, right? Or how about I got Monday, Michelle, you got Tuesday? We can
Yeah.
coordinate. You get parents together, and we're actually doing that. Here in Vermont
Mhm.
State, we're almost up to 40% in the last 2 years that have pulled their kids out of school. You're looking at elementary schools that got 1,000 students, and they're talking about $5-6 million budgets. What's wrong with you people? Whoever's given those budgets should be ashamed of themselves. Like I can see me as governor. Like no, try again. Like this ain't going to work, right?
Yeah.
So I think again, education is easy. It's as simple as the money follows the student. We need to get Chinese core curriculum out of it. We need to get the teachers union. Yeah, I said it. We need to get the teachers union out of it, and we need to get the state out of it. To be honest, this is education. Should be local education for local students. They don't even know how to sign a paycheck. Like there's some crazy stuff going on, Michelle. That's a big one.
Well, Kevin, I'll tell you, we homeschooled. We did the homeschooling thing the last 5 years of my oldest and last four, or of my youngest, and 4 years of my oldest. And I have to tell you, it was the best thing ever. We started it. The school year just so happens that ended up being COVID. So while everybody's kids were at home and they weren't learning, our kids kept learning. It was fantastic. And I'm not one, I teach adults. And so I cannot teach children. I just know how to read. I don't know how to teach how to read. And so, and all of that. So what we did was a program where they can homeschool, and I'm not the teacher on like math and English and language arts and all that. Now I taught them their electives,
Mhm.
Their father and I did. But as far as is, and we are a two-parent home. My husband and I, their daddy and I are still together. We've been together over 31 years. And so we did that. And so he taught them driver's ed and I taught them, about the word of God. And they got school credit for both, and so it was great. And so it was a godsend. It was the best. I think it was the best thing we ever did, really. And so
Yeah.
I'm right with you, right
Well, and
with you.
you kind of did a combo where you had tutors and the
Mhm.
homeschool together, and there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that either, Michelle. But now you got a real education to get your kids ahead again. That should be the goal. It
Mhm.
shouldn't be a daycare service, but it has, and that's part of the trap too. We're all working and slaving, and I mean, it's just hard enough to make ends meet. I feel for people, but you got to
Yeah.
decide again. Hopefully, your kids are priority in your life, right? And if you really want to take care of them, what you're doing now is you're working and slaving and paying someone else to raise your children. And in defense
Yeah.
of all the teachers, when we stopped parenting, the teachers kind of took over, right? So we got to be responsible for
Mhm.
ourselves a little bit here too.
Yeah, the last school year where my kids were in school, my younger one who was in the 7th grade got in the car one day and he goes, "Mama, what's a Methodist?" And I said, "I don't know. We just teach the word of God. We just read the Bible." And he said, "Oh, okay." So the next morning was Saturday morning and he came in there and he wanted to borrow my phone because they don't have phones. And so he said, "Mama, can I borrow your phone?" So I give it to him and we're getting ready. We're going to go out. And so I say, "What are you doing?" He sits on the side of the tub while I'm putting my makeup on and doing my hair. And he says, "I'm going to look up and see what a Methodist is." So what it turned out was he had a social studies teacher who decided to tell the class that he was Methodist. And then also in the same conversation told everybody that the current pope was the best pope that they had ever had. And so I was like, "What did you just say?" And so,
Yeah.
you know, and so I could see the days were numbered with my kids being in public school at that point. It
Well,
was
and this is
downhill
where
from there.
what are you really taught in school if everybody thinks about it? You're taught not to think outside of the box. Don't
That's right.
question authority. You sit down and shut up and rinse and repeat. And if you don't comply, you're going to be punished. I was never
Right.
very good in school, as you can imagine, right? I was a solid C student, skin in my teeth, bare minimum. I aced math, right? Recess, lunch, gym, like I was a
Yeah.
pro at those things. But no, I think that was on purpose too. Now in hindsight, I didn't
Yeah.
know it back then, but I knew it was a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
So I
I'm
taught
I have
myself.
had to teach my kids, how to fill out a check on it in a check register and balance their checkbook and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, holy cow, they don't teach that stuff in school. They don't
They
teach the
don't
real things that they
they
need to
don't
know.
teach them cursive. Think about that. How do you sign a
I know.
paycheck at the end of the week? And
Yeah.
then let me know again, what's the Constitution written in?
Yeah.
See,
Cursive.
so within two
Yes.
generations, Nancy Pelosi's grandkid is going to have to rewrite the Constitution for interpretation because we don't know. That's what they do,
Yeah.
right? I
Well,
mean, it sounds kind of funny, but that's what happens.
Kevin, seriously though, they really don't. My
I
older
know.
child, who's only a year ahead in school, that's where it started. He got some of that. He got more of that than his younger brother, who's only a year behind him in school. And so during COVID, guess one of the things that I had to do? I went online and had to print out the little sheets for each letter and taught my, ninth or eighth grade child
I know.
cursive because I
I
ended
know.
up finding out he didn't know how to do cursive. And I'm like, holy cow, I could not. I thought, oh my gosh, this is true. What I've been hearing is true. It's
I know.
actually true. Okay,
We're
so let's get back to your policy. So number 3, energy. What's your energy policy?
Well, and energy again, we've got so many things coming down the pipe. I've seen the future. I've seen engines that run on air. I've seen engines that run
Water.
on water. We have a generator right now. You can plug your house in, run 25 years on air. Problem is, if I tell you the patent holders, they'll end up in a ditch, right? This is after the cleanup. So I see a lot of things with energy. Same with gas. Like if people really look at, wind, wind or propane, the turbines, for every wind turbine, it takes what's called raw earth. And to get raw earth, you got to destroy about 1,000 acres of habitat. That's so destroyed, it's never coming back. It's toxic, right? I go across the Midwest and I see hundreds of thousands of wind turbines, right? And if you think about the long, we got a mountain here in Vermont State. We clear cut the top of the mountain, not for coal, but for a wind farm, right? And then we
Mhm.
take all this concrete, right, which the biggest CO2 emission creator for CO2 emissions is carbon manufacturing or is cement manufacturing. So we make all the cement, we put it on fossil fuel burning trucks, we truck it to the top of the mountain. The other side of the country, we're burning coal so hot we can melt steel. We make all the components, we truck them across country, truck them to the top of the mountain, put these things up with planes, helicopters, right? Or giant cranes. All that, by the time we're done, we burned about 5 times the amount of fossil fuel than we would have if you just went with it, with normal fossil fuel. And we get about 20 years out of that. The same when look at the expense, the real expense for our planet when it comes to lithium batteries, or the same with all these solar. They don't tell you, you get about 20 years out of a solar panel. Then it's not only garbage, but again, major toxic, more toxic than nuclear waste, right? It's your solar panels that, again, you've been talked into. And whoever thought it was a good idea to put our entire transportation system on an already failing electrical grid, you guys got to have your brain examined. Like, this is electric vehicles and all these things. It's a scam, and it's a CCP scam specifically. So again, back to Juan Peng, that's the Consult General, CCP Consult General, that met individually and exclusively alone with my governor, Phil Scott, my lieutenant governor, David Zuckerman, and James Kondos, the Secretary of State. Why? Right? Because of these illegal shell companies and Chinese businesses, and they're trying to better their economy and culture, not ours.
That's exactly it. They're China first, aren't they?
They
And
are.
so, okay, so let's talk about sustainable farming.
Oh, farming. I love this. First of all, how about an actual use for our farm like food? Has anybody ever heard of that?
Mm.
I like happy cows and happy pigs and happy chickens. And I'm talking about grass-fed, pasture-raised, organic food. And I think our Vermont farms are going to shine at that. I think in the future, we're going to do a lot of this ourselves. I think people are going to have their own gardens and have chickens and take care of it, but you're going to know your butcher. You're going to know who that is. And as far as sustainable, hemp comes into play. Hemp is a giant, giant thing. Again, as Vermonter, right? Marijuana as an illegal crop was our number one export, our number one cash cow, more than maple syrup or milk or anything, as an illegal crop. Now it's legal, and I'm not just talking about recreational and medical. Hemp specifically is an incredible product. We can make lumber without cutting down trees. And don't worry, all my Vermont loggers, we're still going to need for conservation. People want, well, we're still going to log, right? But again, we can make lumber that's 10 times lighter, 10 times stronger, 50 times cheaper. It's more fire retardant, and it's beautiful. It's incredible. We're making armor, Michelle, armor out of hemp. We're making planes, rope, paper, clothes, cloth, money, all those things too. The problem here in Vermont State is we switched over. When they legalized it here in Vermont State, a lot of our farmers switched over to hemp, and they put their last $500,000 into hemp, and they grew lots of hemp, and they ended up with a barn full of rotten hemp. So we've got manufacturers and developers lined up and ready to go. So I'm going to turn Vermont into a super center for hemp. And again, jobs, 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 all that, again, economic growth and development. And as far as the medical use behind, cannabis, it's a no-brainer. How can they give you steroids and all these other things, but you can't use marijuana for your, cancer to eat, or that's ridiculous to me. And recreational, whether you like it or not, or you're for it or against it, it's here. I don't ever see it going away. And again, it's not drug use that's the problem. It's drug abuse that's the problem. We've done drugs since the beginning of time, humans. And I think we'll probably do drugs to the end of time is my guess. That's the problem with opioids too. They work. When it comes to pain, like the problem now is if you need opioids for pain, you can't get them because they think you're an addict and they're harder in hell to get now. And that was a setup too. Obama knew it. The drug czar told him. We had a pill epidemic. It was Oxycontins and all that stuff back then, right? And they banned them. And that was a setup for the cartel and the heroin. They were ready. And now we're facing the situation we're facing. How's that?
All right. All right. Sounds interesting.
Farmers are going to like me.
Next one is, what about your clean air, your water, and your soil?
Well, and this is the same thing. We talk about the illegal chemtrails, and they're illegal. This is barium, lithium, cadmium, aluminum, right? They started with silver nanoparticles, but they were expensive. Aluminum's cheaper. So as a conservationist 20 years ago, I'm looking at this. What's happening to the deer? How come, again, our deer, our wildlife populations are all dwindling? Our trout, we can't eat them. As an adult male in Vermont state, I can eat one meal a month of our wild brook trout. Kids, elders, women, you can't eat them because they're too toxic, right? The honeybees, everybody heard about the honeybees. Now our
Mhm.
songbirds all across the nation dying of a strange neurological disease. They can't figure it out. White crust around their eyes, right? It's aluminum poisoning. I'm a deer hunter. I can tell you it's aluminum poisoning, right? Or if you look at our lakes, do you have blue-green algae where you are, Michelle? Do you have
I don't know.
they close
I'm
our
not a
rivers and beaches and lakes all the time because of blue-green algae,
Oh, no, I
right?
don't think we have that.
It's not
We don't
actually
close it.
algae. It's human feces, right? So the city of Burlington, Lake Champlain, that's our largest fishery, put about $58 million a year into that just through fish and wildlife. That's not including the septic infrastructure and everything else that goes into it. Lake Champlain International, all the testing for the lake. So what happens is the one city of Burlington, Vermont alone, you heard of Burlington, right? Burlington
Mhm.
dumps between 3 and 5 million gallons of raw septic into our lake every year.
Why?
Discharge. They intentionally, well, because our infrastructure is no good. So they don't want it
Mhm.
backing up into people's homes in the streets of Burlington. So they put it in your lake. And all the money and taxes we give them for infrastructure, it never fixes our infrastructure. So what'll happen is they'll open up the valves. We have a blue-green algae bloom. Their answer is, again, it's a government created problem. Their answer is to restrict you, your beaches are closed, and then to tax you. They need more money. There's more in the lake. There's more crap in the lake, right? And even worse, everybody who lives in Champlain Valley, where do you think we get our drinking water? Same lake. And this is all across the country. This
Mm.
is our lakes, our rivers, our oceans. I've got, again, some great chemists and some great patent holders. We've got a bacteria, we've got an algae that will clean our lakes, rivers, and oceans. We just talked about hemp. Hemp cleans the soil. Did you know that? It'll remove all the heavy metals. No wonder it's banned, right?
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with drugs. It's because it's actually
Mm-mm.
good. This is God's gift. Again, God gave us this incredible plant, and I want to utilize it. So, as a Vermonter, our outdoor, natural, renewable resources, I think, are core values. Our wildlife, these incredible landscapes, stewards of the land. I think those are core values for Vermonters, and they're very important to me. So, clean air, again, I'm going to sign an executive order using the Clean Air Act. There's already laws. They're not going to
Mhm.
spray us in Vermont anymore. And again, I think the clean water we can fix and the clean soil we can fix. So that's my plan.
All right, let's talk about firearm freedom and crime reduction.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm a gun guy. In case people didn't know, I'm probably one of the only politicians you'll ever hear listed as a gun advocate. I've devoted more than half of my life, 30 plus years, as not only a Vermont state firearm safety instructor, but a firearms expert and a world conservation educator. I spent my life doing this and training other people. I believe in safe, responsible gun ownership. If you're out there advocating for gun control right now, you're advocating for higher crime rates, period. It's not even an
Yeah.
argument. Every time we put a ban or restriction on honest, law abiding citizen, crime goes up. And I don't think anybody wants more crime, right? So, again, I plan on restoring our Second Amendment freedoms. We've had a lot of illegal, unconstitutional laws here in Vermont state. As governor, I can't change a law, but I can force the repeal and I can make sure it doesn't happen. And again, through executive order, we're going to make Vermont a 2A sanctuary state because guns not only founded this country, but Vermont. That's what kept us safe for years and years. So I am a pro gun guy, and I think it's as easy as giving the people the right back. Now, as far as prevention, it's really, really easy. I've been trying for 19 years to get hunter education into our school system, right? And again, this
Mm.
is a 14-hour class that's accepted in all 50 states and all around the world as a gun certificate. Doesn't mean you have to be a hunter. It doesn't mean you have to have a gun owner, but the education is important. So if we mandated that as standard curriculum in our schools that it used to be, if we put that back into our schools, again, now you're talking about a 14-hour class, but we got a whole quarter. So I want to do a half year of gym, a quarter of sex education, health, and a quarter of conservation class. You can't call it hunter education because hunting's a bad word now. But it's not only the conservation, the science behind hunting and how we manage our wildlife and their critical habitat. It's first aid, basics first aid, basic survival. It's gun safety. And I don't care, again, if you're going to own a gun or not, I want your kids to know this stuff. Why? The real question is, how come we stopped? How come we're not teaching our kids these things? Right?
That's right.
So that's my plan for firearm freedoms, and we can reduce hunter safety is proven again to reduce gun violence, hands down. So now every single person that graduates high school in Vermont State, they're going to be certified to carry a gun. They're going to be safer. That education is going to reduce our gun safety. And then the same thing as far as, safety in our schools. In my school in Bennington, we have a resource officer, a guard at the school. The problem is that's a danger. If we're going to have a school shooting, if I'm going to rob a bank, the first thing I'm going to do is take out security, right? So that's dangerous for that guy. I like the idea of giving our teachers their rights back. And if our teachers want to carry, they can carry, and no one knows about it except for the teacher and the principal. And even if nobody in my school wants to carry, the next shooter doesn't know that. So we take down the no gun free zone sign, and we put up any attempts to harm our children will be met with deadly force sign. And likewise, a few of those teachers might actually be willing. In hunter education, if we brought the hunter education, these teachers are not only trained to teach, and what they teach is important, they're trained to concealed carry. They've already done their background checks. The standardized curriculum's already been established. The money's already there. And if we need more money, we got it through the Pittman-Robertson Act. So no more money for anybody. So we can reduce, you can keep your freedoms, we can reduce gun violence, and nobody has to give up any more rights. I like that plan.
All right. The next one is judicial reform.
Ooh, we're already taking down judicial. And this is part of, we've talked about this before. Right now, the problem is that we have a two-tiered system, depending on who you are and how much money you have, right? And we've watched that from OJ all the way down to, pick a thing. But we're taking them out. Again, right in my town, my Bennington, Vermont, Judge Mook, Judge Sudtag, Judge Cohen, Judge Carzones, Judge Howard, Judge Scanlon, Judge, I can keep going, right? These are just the judges in my town that we've already removed. Donald Trump had that big campaign on judges, right?
Yeah.
So this goes back into human trafficking too. There's a summer camp here in Vermont called Overcoming Barriers. This is where they sent Britney Spears' children. When Britney lost her kids, they sent them to Vermont. Nobody knew that. So they sent them to Overcoming Barriers. It's in other states. It's up in Canada too. We closed them down in January of 2021 for human trafficking. The counselors that took Britney's kids away weren't even licensed. It's like our officers. They just buy a degree from a local college. That's why Southern Vermont College is closed, right? So they sent them again to a guy named Jim Mandel, a pedophile named Jim Mandel that ran this. I've got lots of pictures of Jim Mandel and Bernie Sanders, the real Bernie, not the one you're watching on TV, the real Bernie. And if you look at the who's who of the board of directors, the sponsors, the donors, it's the who's who of Vermont rights and democracy. Doug Hoffer, our state auditor, David Zuckerman, our lieutenant governor, Senator Jane Kitchels, Senator Jane Sanders, Bernie's wife. Why were you on the board that we closed for human trafficking? And then if you go even bigger, we traced that the owner of that company is named Marjorie Slavic. She's a family court commissioner in California, right? So again, this is heavy stuff. She's the owner of the camp we closed for human trafficking, having to do, again, with all of the children, not only, again, a commissioner for family, she decides where all these kids go, right? And that's how we discovered JAMS, which is JAMS. If any of your viewers want to look it up, it's arbitration. When you go to court, it's private judging. So Marjorie Slavic was our first private judge that we found. So we're taking down judicial. We're working with a woman named Susan Bassey in the Cochran law firm. Johnny Cochran's gone. We still got a hell of a law firm out of LA. So Judge Sontag, to explain JAMS to people, Judge Sontag in Little Bennington, Vermont, is also Judge Sontag in Nevada, where his day rate's about $35,000. So Michelle, if me and you were a married couple, we can go to Judge Sontag in Nevada as a private judge. We can hire him. We skip to the head of the crowd. There's no media. There's no public. There's no nothing. We get our paperwork, judge's signature on the bottom. The problem is there's no such thing as a private judge. Judge Sontag isn't licensed to practice in Nevada, and none of these guys are paying taxes. Right? So we're taking down judicial from California to Vermont and every state in between. Again, Susan Bassey is a good look up for that. Corrigan Wright is another superhero. Her father, Ralph Wright, is one of my helpers in our RICO investigation here in Vermont state. And if I'm a far right extremist, white supremacist, liberal, whatever, this guy is a far left Democrat knucklehead, crazy. His father, Ralph Wright, is the longest Speaker of the House in the history of Vermont state. He ran the Vermont Democrat Party from the late 60s until the mid 90s. This guy is a heavy, he's a power player, and he's, again, politically the opposite is me. Me and his son, Rick, are going after the same crime, same people. This is a right-left combo. This has nothing to do with who you voted for. It doesn't matter who you voted for. They're all corrupt. It's two wings, the same Baphomet. I used to say bird. It's a Baphomet.
That's right. All right, Kevin. Woo, that's a lot. Okay, well, let's go on ahead and cover some viewer comments and questions because we've got a bunch. So Susie E10 Cows says, Kevin Hoyt is a man we need a whole lot more of. He really impressed me when I first heard him. That's so sweet, Susie. Thank you. Jay Hagan 65 says, hello, everyone from Kansas City. Great that Michelle has Kevin Hoyt on the show. He is a fearless man like Mike Gill. Y'all see a trend? Okay, the next one is How Darlene says, Kevin, I've been following you for about 2 years now. Love all the information that you put out there for us that are listening. That's so great. Kuzito 77 says, welcome, Kevin. Love you, my brother. Says, been following you for a while now. Glad to see that you made it over to here. Michelle and producer Ron are great. Yes. And so for those of you that don't know, Kevin and I've known each other for quite a while now. K.A. Carlson 00 says, how can a traitor like the real Biden be allowed to rest at Arlington? I was wondering that myself, but like, okay, with McCain, we know that his flag was wrinkled. So where was he buried? Like, what's up with that crap? I'm with K.A. Carlson. I'm like, put him out back. And so
I think it's narrative, Michelle. I think television's not real. We tell our children that, but yet we all get sucked right back into it. This is a generation 4 and 5 warfare. We know that. It's an information war. For your mind is the end of that.
Yeah.
It's for your mind. You see stuff with your eyes and you're hearing stuff. You can't even pump gas. It's coming over the speakers. And then your brain automatically starts working. A lot of times for the wrong side because what you're watching isn't real.
It's crazy. So, okay, Raven says, just went to findagrave.com, no J.R. Biden. So you have to put in Joseph Robinette Biden. It worked for me yesterday. I don't know if the site still has it. I know it's caused a big uproar since the 15th, which I think was Friday. So who knows what's going on.
It worked for me too.
Oh, it worked for you too? Yeah. Okay, when did you do it?
And again, I did it yesterday. We're seeing the same channels. And is there anybody in Virginia? Anybody in Virginia that can reach out, like go verify this stuff? It's pretty easy for us, boots on the ground, because I don't trust them anymore, but I trust you guys. I never lost faith in the Lord or the people. They got
That's right. NC Lambert 336 says it has been taken down. It was there this morning. Oh, so there you go. So that must be about it. So there you go. Bryn 777 says Joe's not on Find a Grave anymore. Okay, now we're getting to it. So there we go. Lindy C says they're spraying us bad here in Southeast Texas today. Makes me sick. Okay, so I'm just going to say, this makes me mad. Like, I was thinking about it. Like, how is there still fluoride in the water? And I mean, seriously, I smell skunk. I'm just telling you.
They're still pushing the vaccines, Michelle. How?
Yeah, something's not right. Y'all can blame Joe Biden all you want to, but something's up. I don't know. Something's up. I'm not.
I don't think it's the same. Again, I hate the fear porn. I hate it.
Yeah.
I think they've changed, and I want to say that they're spraying us with good things now, but I can't verify that, and I don't like that they're not telling us. The fact that we're at war, and we are at war, in case anybody didn't know. So there's stuff going on, and maybe that's the reason they can't tell us. That's the only reason that I'm going to give them to forgive them. because they're, again, cloud cover. I think they're hiding our skies, and maybe there's something in there to get rid of the ticks or help our soil, or I don't know, guys. Yeah, it's
I'm
bad
hoping
though.
so. I'm hoping so.
Me too.
Okay, so Coley 422 says, "Thank you for mentioning chemtrails. No one will answer that or even mention it." That's right. I asked Wayne Willett about it last year, and he gave some crap about it, some that being good, like for I guess some kind of a defense, and that the chemtrails had. I mean, it was just a convoluted answer, I thought. Okay, so Jody says, "That's right, Kevin. I know what you want to do. I support you 100%. I didn't hear anything I didn't like. I love it. I'm all about it." Vicky Q Grease, I would put my kids back in public school if we had the stuff that you're talking about. Vicky Q Grease says, "Kevin Hoyt is one of my favorite for a long time now. Straight, plenty of receipts and lots of good input. Thank you, Kevin Hoyt." KM Sunshine said, "Hey, Michelle and Kevin, this is my first time seeing him on your show. Kevin, Kevin, can you come to Texas and run for governor?" I would have switched you over all of
There's
it.
Kevin Hoyt all over now. We're not alone. That's another lie. And this is the thing. People ask me if all this is true, then what are we waiting for? You. That's all
Yeah.
we're waiting for is you, right? Don't, Michelle, let me ask you this. You're a Trump supporter, just like me. Before it was popular, you were into Trump and the whole thing. Are you going to put all your eggs in one basket, though? Are you going to wait
I
for Donald Trump?
No.
No.
I have said this repeatedly. I do not rely on any one man. I do not put my
Thank
trust or faith and my future in any one man. I love what producer Ron says. Producer Ron says, "No man or woman holds his purpose in their hands."
I
And
got to
so,
go.
and that's, or destiny even. And so that's the same with me. I feel the exact same way.
Let's
And
see.
so, yeah.
If you wonder who the white hats are, in case anybody's wondering, all
Yeah,
right, it's
it's
you.
us.
We
Yeah.
are our own saviors. We
Yeah.
are the ones that are doing it, and everybody's so trapped in the fear. Don't lose sight of the fact that we're doing it. You are the new news. People come to, again, the Michelle Moore Show, the Michael Jacobs, the right. That's nobody's watching
Mhm.
that other stuff.
Yeah.
Administrative's gone. They're not listening to President Corn Pop or Governor Phil Scott. We're becoming medical. How many people trust their doctors? I am terrified of my doctor, right? Everybody's
Yeah.
looking at holistic. We're becoming education. The next one is
Mhm.
law enforcement, and we become law enforcement is when it gets scary.
Yeah.
So
But, we need people
keep
to
reading. I
really
didn't
share.
mean to interrupt. I'm a professional interrupter too. Gotten
Oh,
good at
you're
that.
fine. No, you're good. Joy says, "I love Kevin. Thanks for having him on. He's doing good work." That's true. M. Johns 34 says, "I agree. Question everything, including Michelle." That's right. Yeah. Look, I show up here 5 days a week. If you don't know me by now, I don't know what to tell you.
But you
Um,
haven't
eh,
changed. That's an important piece, Michelle. You've never changed.
no,
Your
no.
values and your beliefs have always been the same. And I can say you guys can go back 30 years ago. I haven't changed either. I'm still the same
Okay.
country boy.
That's right. KM Sunshine 1974 says, "I absolutely love this guy. We need more Kevins." He's right. Public schools are babysitters. We have been homeschooling for the last 3 years. Best decision ever made. So you just heard another mama. I'm
Mhm.
betting KM Sunshine 1974 is a mama, but KM and myself have just said it's the best decision we ever made, and it was. Now I work and I've always been busy, and so like I said, I can't teach math and science and English and all that to high schoolers, but I was able for $99 a month per child. I was able to have my kids in a faith-based program, and
Wow.
where I wasn't the one teaching them those things, but I did the other stuff. And I got to tell you, it was the best decision. And
Right.
they were the place I went to that I taught them, or that we did through it, a school. They call it an umbrella school, and the place that we went to, Kevin. Was a faith-based one. So Holy Spirit told me to homeschool the kids, and a month later told me faith-based program, and I said, "Faith-based oh yes, about the homeschooling, of course, God, of course." And that was the end of that conversation. And
Well,
so when
100
and then I
bucks a month is crazy. We're
it's
paying
great.
$21,000 per student in Vermont. Per student, $21,000.
Why are
Anybody
the
see
teachers not
that
making more?
for some of the lowest test scores? Well, and that's another part of it too. Where's all that money going? Same as your
Mhm.
taxes.
All right. All right. Let's go on to the next. We got a lot of viewer comments and questions. And so when
I
we're
love
getting
it.
ready to end this, but Joey Joy says, I love that Kevin is already bringing in the future. Speak our plans into existence. That's right. Puzzle Mom says the chemtrails are stripping the paint off my daughter's car roof. I see several around town. I have never heard that. I
I've
just figured
seen
it
it
was the
on my
sun.
car. We've taken lab tests. In fact, the Bennington Battle Monument, we have a 300-foot Masonic penis, a phallus, right in the middle of my town, just like the one in Vatican, just like the one in
Yeah.
Washington, right? The whole top of it's all coated now from the chemtrails. The same with our crops. We've got so many pictures from our farmers, and you can't send it. Where are you going to test it even? You send it to the Vermont Department of Health, they lie,
Yeah.
right?
That's
Told
right.
us it was cottonwood, and
That's
we
right.
don't have cottonwood. Sorry.
CJG9 CJG9 says, I wasn't able to garden last year. No bees, sadness. Wow. Okay. Lindy C says, when I was in high school, the guys would all have their hunting rifles hanging in the gun rack. No problem. That's true, Lundy. Okay. The next one, Cole 323 says, the system has been carefully engineered as a prison for your mind. That's right. Just like what Kevin was really alluding to and explaining. Jay Burberry says, I witnessed a bank robbery last summer. The shooting was 10 inches from my car bumper. The robbery, sixth robbery, and he was out on parole. True story. Released from 5 robberies on his record. Jeez Louise. Cole 323 again says, funny, someone can get released after 5 robberies, but if you take photos at the Capitol, you're in jail for years. Was under a rock says we should be teaching our kid how to garden and live off the land. I was raised with my grandparents. We had 5 acres and we gardened. I know all kinds of stuff about all that, and we had apple trees and peach trees. And
Yeah.
so, I
I
did
didn't
that as a
want to take,
child.
I was going to say, I
Yeah.
didn't want to take sewing. Well, I had to take sewing and home ec when I was a kid. I'm glad I took
Yes.
sewing and home ec now.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah,
Those are good
absolutely.
things to know.
It's just not the same. My mother-in-law, she can wallpaper a room and can some tomato juice and make dinner and do all kinds of stuff and then sew on a button and quilt, by hand. I've seen her do all of it. And so it's like, this
You
a
remember
lot
the
of this
remember the
not the
3
same.
R's? I love arithmetic, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Remember the 3 R's? Like, we got to get back to the 3 R's. And
Yeah.
in defense of the teachers, their curriculum, they are so overwhelmed and so influenced, and there's so much stuff that they're trying to jam into a single school year. There's too much though, and how much stuff is really needed? Can we get rid of, again, Gary the transgender dinosaur in kindergarten or first grade? Do we really need well, that's the blessing of COVID too.
Yeah.
We're all home, nobody working. You're looking over Timmy's shoulder going, what are they teaching you? Right? Now we know their
Yeah.
secret war was winning. It's not a secret anymore. We're
Well, I can
winning
tell
now.
you right now, Kevin, I've got an 18-year-old and 19-year-old sons, and I've already been talking with them recently about, look, when you start having children, you need to plan and make sure that you are in a situation where your wife can homeschool the kids. You need to marry someone who's equally yoked, has the same beliefs, who's awake. Could
Yeah.
you imagine one of my sons marrying a girl in fact, my younger one always during COVID, he goes, Mama, I'm gonna bring home a girl with purple hair and she's gonna have a Bernie 2020 t-shirt on. And I said, and that Mama's gonna change the locks on the doors. And you
Well,
won't
that's
be invited
my
at
new hit
Christmas.
TV show. We're going to do a American liberal Muslim extremist wife swap. We'll put that on TV. See how that works out. What do you think?
Yeah, that won't work. Okay, Carrie. Hello, Carrie. Says Michelle, can you put Kevin's links on your site? Already there in the description, honey, on the Michelle Moore Show Rumble channel. So yeah, we always do that. And he's got a Rumble channel. He's big on Facebook. So Carrie, I know you're on Facebook, so it'll be good. In fact, the next thing is Kevin's links are on Facebook and Rumble are in today's show description. So yeah. Someone said Kazuto said I'm in Virginia. Well, I think you got to just check it out. You got to go over there to that Arlington, Virginia thing. We'll just pipe you in live, honey.
I think it's
Carm,
public too, right? You just say, hey, where's lot number? I want to put up a
yeah,
flag.
that's what I'm saying. All right. Carm says, "You go, Kevin. I've been watching you beat down the scum for years." I like that. We won't stop. Praise God. I see. Because Casito77 said they spray every day here in Virginia, always putting a large X in the sky. You know, X marks the spot. I know. I've seen that too. That's so weird.
It's
It's
grids.
just,
It'll be a tic-tac-toe board, and then they spread out. And again, even in
yeah,
my time off, I'm hunting and fishing. When you're on a lake fishing all day, you got nothing to do. You can watch them build your skies every single morning by afternoon. It's called The Dimming. There's a documentary called The Dimming, if anybody
yep.
wants
We've
to
run
watch
it.
that. Yeah, and
Yep.
the big thing here, again, for years and years, people denied this. The government even denied it. There should be no wonder why grandma has Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia.
That's right.
This is why, right? They've done this. Again, it's big pharma, big corporate, big politics. That's your three-headed beast. If you want to add big tech and media, that's five, right? This is our enemy. That's the real enemy. So
Yeah.
I think it's out
It's so
now.
much. So, Kevin, I don't know if you ever do ion foot baths, but I did an ion foot bath, and so many times when I do it, there's metal flecks in there, little metal flecks,
I know.
and so I know it's got to be from the chemtrails. I'm drinking reverse osmosis water and distilled water, so
I'm the
I
same
don't
way.
think it's any
I
of that.
got I got out of a glass bottle, spring water, piece of
Yep,
shungite floating in there. And again, you've changed my life in that regard too. And this is some of the exciting stuff that's coming. I'm wearing my Wave Watch. You turned me on to that. That's an incredible product. I got an X39 patch, right, on my back. There's so many things, and they're all working, by the way. They have all different
yeah,
price points and reasons, but all coincidences don't have to always be bad. Like there's a
yeah.
lot of frequency healing, color and light therapy, immunotherapy. These are some of the exciting things that are coming with the free energy. It's here,
All right,
Boz. It's here actually. So
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. We're
Keep on
getting there.
reading.
We're getting it, aren't we, honey? Okay, M. John's 34. This is interesting, Kevin. He says, "My brother in law is a colonel in the Army. He said chemtrails were bad, but have been good for a while now. Was surprised I knew about them and HARP." Well, there we go. M. Johns, you're going to have to keep us updated on what else. Okay, that's interesting. That sounds good. That's very encouraging. MAB07 says, we need guys like Kevin running in every state. Preach it, honey. Preach it. And who, you know what? I got to tell you too.
Vermonters
Now,
don't even know who I am. People from Vermont have no idea who I am because
well,
it's so locked down. Again, that's part of the cheat. We've got WCAX, it's a news station, largest here in Vermont, literally on audio saying, you guys don't pick the candidates. We do. We choose who's going to be most
yeah,
likely to win. And then that's who they have the debates. These guys run from me. They literally run from debates.
for
Senator
sure.
Dick Sears almost got hit by a car last time I was interviewing, jumping into traffic, just trying to get away from questions, right? Phil Scott's not going to debate me. If people want to help me, I want your voice, keep your money. I want your voice. People got to know about me.
That's
Sorry.
right. That's right.
I keep
All right.
interrupting.
That's so,
I love the
no,
praise
yeah.
though. You got great viewers. I like your audience.
Honey, I got the best viewers. I
I
done
know.
told everybody. I tell everybody all the time.
I
So
agree.
I do. I have the best viewers. Jay Burberry says, "Fired my doctor." See, I told you I got best viewers. I
Smart
told them
too.
that I told them that they were participants in crimes against humanity, not me, but they tried. Preach, preach.
Mhm.
Jay, that's right. JM or MJ M Johns 34 says, I was a teacher and was the only one of 125 at my school, not in the union. Wow. The union wanted me, but I found out that Pelosi and Franken got the most of union dues. Oh, yeah. See, there you go. Graham Cracker says, "Is Kevin going to take the phallic symbol down? Please do. Our garden was awful last year. Hardly nothing grew here in Iowa." Kevin, you're going to take down that Masonic crap,
I don't
right?
know how to. I don't know. The guidestones got destroyed, right?
Yeah.
And again, this goes back. You're going from politics to crazy now. And I think that's what I'm supposed to do, bridge that gap to the
Mhm.
extraterritorial. We're going into, again, the spiritual realm, not religious, but spiritual. I think, again, these are set up on ley lines. We have grid
Mhm.
lines. We have a false grid,
Yep.
which I think this is part of. I think that gives off negative energy. I think that affects the people of Bennington, our minds, and again, our bodies and everything about it. We also have they call them dragon lines, but the correct grids. Again, these are all Salem, New Hampshire. They call that the Stonehenge. The 2017 eclipse went through Salem, New Hampshire, along with all the other cities named
Other
Salem,
Salems.
right?
Mhm.
It's the same thing. And that's where LHS is. That's where Mike Gill was born. That's where Sununu was born. These are sacred locations, and they're set up on purpose. I don't know if we need to take it down, but if we can somehow switch it over to good, then I'm all for it. Right. So
Yeah.
rather than
Yeah.
just like Disney, they can't have Disney. I was
Yeah.
speaking at the Lewis Herms Truth Tour, and I was watching one morning. I was going over to speak, and all the moms and dads and little kids with Mickey Mouse ears and strollers with balloons. And I decided, right, they can't have Disney. There's too many good memories and too many good things with that. We got to get the sin out of America. We got to take the crap out of Disney and all these places. But what do we do with Nike? This giant mogul of a cabal company. Do we destroy Nike, or do we just reconvert it? I think we reconvert it. We utilize all their, existing infrastructure, and we just take the evil out of it. How about that?
Yeah. It's crazy. Okay, so the next one says the Veterans Affairs VA is a complete death system now. I believe it. They're trying to kill the elderly. It's just crazy. Rocky 2000 says, hi, Sadie Bell from Cali. Blessing to you both. Is there a Kevin in Cali? We're hanging on by a thread. Oh, I don't know that California is as bad as what we're all being led to believe, if that makes sense, because even Trump supposedly got California.
I think everywhere, again, television's not real. When you're looking at elections or reports or any of these things, none of it's real. Go talk to your neighbors. Then you find out the truth, right? All the statistics, and it's all tainted for your. It sounds crazy again, Nazi propaganda. If you look at the timeline, we had Project Paperclip, right? We had World War II, the Treaty of Antarctica, Project Paperclip. That's when NASA was formed. That's when they gave us TV and our programming. The CIA took over. You guys got to look at all those timelines. Everything in your life, this is the hard part. Everything's a lie. People can't get to not only your religion, your language, and your calendar, history for sure, chemistry, physics. Everything I thought I knew turned out to be wrong. That's why I'm excited now. It's like the little adventurer in me. The discovery mode comes out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. All right. Angels Among Us says, keep fighting, Kevin. Big House Sergeant says, be careful dating anyone wearing a mask. My cousin just married a girl with one tooth. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Big House.
Vermont joke. If you've ever been accused of lying through your tooth, you might be a Vermonter.
I never heard that. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. M. Johns 34 says, we have bee balm in our yard. Hundreds of bees flock to it every day. It grows like a weed. I don't know. I've never heard of bee balm. Have you, Kevin?
I haven't, and it must be some sort of an attractant, to get them to count. I know a lot of beekeepers, and again, there's a lot of problems with bees, and a lot of that has to do with moving them around when you transport bees. It's not good for the bees to start with. But again, this is the chemtrails, and it goes back to the same with our fish and our deer and our turkeys and our ducks. I stopped hunting ducks with my dad 35 years ago because they're too toxic. Can't eat them anymore. I'm not going to harvest them if I can't eat them, right? This is our wild animals, guys. And it's the same. Your pets are being sprayed. I'm all happy. We're talking about organic gardens. They're being sprayed. We got to stop that first.
Little Flashy Moore eats organic, like carrots, and we give him all kinds of organic stuff, organic chicken. So we feed him all kinds of stuff that's organic, but and he drinks water that's out of a glass jar, and he's not drinking faucet water,
He's better than most people.
Spices
that are the big thing for your pets. You got to keep spices away from them. Other than that, they love people food.
Yeah, they do, especially Flashy. Okay, so God Bless America Forever said, Michelle, I just wanted to tell you how much I love my Wav Watch. Thank you so much for all that you do. I love your show. Thank you so much. It blesses me when I hear people getting healthy. I've been hearing so many testimonials about people we've been helping to get ivermectin. I mean, just all Kevin, it's mind blowing to hear how many states won't let their people, that if they even had a doctor that would write the prescription, they don't have a pharmacy that would fill the prescription. But
I
these are
know.
all, your Bilderberg, look, I knew the day after we were supposed to be like slowing down the spread, and I pulled into the parking lot at Walgreens and saw the big signs and the stickers on the floor that quick. I said, something's wrong,
Yeah, they
because
plan it.
nobody gets stickers designed and made and shipped that fast. It just
They
doesn't
already
happen. And I knew then we were in trouble.
they already got a vaccine for disease X. They've been
Yeah.
talking about it for 2 or 3 years. Like, how did they know? It's like
Hmm.
it's almost like they knew. Huh,
Yeah.
we're catching on.
Yeah. And what's up with all the X stuff? So they changed Twitter to X. I mean, I've seen that where the whole thing with where they're always doing the photos with their, hands like this and stuff. So I don't know. It's
I don't
some
either.
other crap
No worse
that's
than, well, we
crazy.
got Adreno, which runs Chrome. That's
Hmm.
everybody's
Yeah.
watching on Adrenochrome right now. These are the crazy things. The word magic again, ball, right? Baal. That's
Yeah.
again Moloch. This is the devil. This is the demon, the Baphomet, whatever you want to call him. What's one of the first words you learn as a child? Ball.
Mom.
We can get
Oh,
dressed up
yes.
and go to the ball, a devilish
It's
good
true.
time, having a ball, basketball, football. That's the fodder, right? Circus, bread and water. It's guys, if you really, really think about it, I mean, they've been telling us again, chemtrails, barium and aluminum, BAAL. If you go
Oh,
to the
that's right.
periodic table, is it a coincidence? How many
No.
coincidences before it's not a coincidence anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and the chemtrails, just so my viewers, if they don't know, because I haven't covered this in a while. So in the chemtrails, there's different things, but the two heaviest or most whatever in the mixture,
Prevalent.
the greatest is your barium and your aluminum. Now, aluminum, that's why Kevin was talking about this a little bit ago, just in case people don't know. Aluminum has been found. Now, we have aired this before, but it's been a minute, where aluminum has been found in the brain. When it goes through your system and gets to the brain, it stays there. And that's what causes Alzheimer's and dementia, is what they believe. And I've listened to medical doctors actually testify on this. And so anyway, so that's where some of this goes. In fact, I've even listened to Jack and Margie Flynn say that they don't even go outside and walk outside or anything really leisurely, because they don't even trust the air that they're breathing because of the chemtrails. And so this is encouraging about what the gentleman said a little while ago. So we'll see about this, but praying
This is
that the
this
chemtrails are
is
good
the
now.
this is the inconceivable part too. So you're telling me that people are spraying themselves and their family with the same poison and breathing the same air for profit? That sounds totally insane, but it's the truth. And again, what you got to realize is these guys have connections to medical technologies that we don't have to start with, and they don't care. They don't care about it's just about the money, right? It's part of the
That's right.
religion. It's a
That's
religious
right.
extremist war. It's Satanists and Luciferians.
All right. So Judas says, or I guess Judy, she's got a long username. We're going to say Judy. So Judy says, that's it. I'm moving to Vermont. Well, let him win first, honey.
Yeah, Vermonters are
Okay.
fleeing.
We got two
40,000
more.
Vermonters fled in the last 2 years because they
Oh,
can't afford
wow.
it.
All
Two
right.
more.
Docs06 says, this morning I was talking to my daughter and mentioned chemtrails, and she said, what? What's that? Ugh. Yeah, I know. It's exhausting. Okay, DeBarch says, Michelle, my husband goes to the VA in Illinois, Hines, Virginia, and the Joliet location. And it says, ever since Trump was president, they are awesome to the veterans. Well, praise God for that. That's great information to hear, that some of these are good to the veterans. That's great information. All right, Kevin, it's been so good listening to you and your policies and your plans for Vermont. I know you love Vermont. You tell me that every time I speak with you. Mike Gill and I are going to be on your show tomorrow, after the Michelle Moore Show tomorrow, 4:30 Eastern time. Are we starting right at 4:30? Is that what we're doing? As soon as
I'm never on time, but we're going to try, right?
well, I'm
So
always on time.
I know you are, but you're always a little bit early. I'm always a
Yes.
little bit casually late, I think they call that. right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to try to be on time. Probably be a couple days before it hits the airwaves. But again, this is me and Michelle Moore and Mike Gill talking about trust issues, who to trust. And I think this is actually part of the plan, this fear and confusion. And we're all going to get to the point where you're not going to know who to trust, and you're going to have to look at yourself. You're going to have to trust yourself and make your own critical decisions. Likewise, the world has to, if you think this is biblical, we've had this discussion off air, Michelle. If you think this is biblical, then the world has to be brought to our knees, not just the liberals and Democrats. The world has to be brought to our knees. I think that's the gut punch that we're talking about. But I'm walking with Jesus. I believe in the faith. I believe in the Lord. And I feel really, really good about it. So thanks for having me, Michelle. I love you.
Oh,
Appreciate
you're welcome.
you.
You're welcome. I'm with Natalie. She said, "Where are men? Men, your families need you." That's so right. That's so right. We do. I was going to say this earlier. I think there is nothing more attractive than a manly man, and so I like manly men. And it's just crazy because so many of these men have been they've been demasculinized or whatever the word would be. And it's like, oh, it's, toxic masculinity. And that's just not the case. And so, but that's what they do. If they want to take out a country, they always have to take out the masculine side of the society. And so,
It's
they've
even
been
worse
doing
than
it.
that. Well, it's the same thing, but it's in our food again. We talk about weaponized food and crazy. My moobs, that's a man boob, right? It's from the broccoli. Like they did that on purpose. Like this is, I swear to God, again, you're looking at and if you look at that too, all the meat processing plants or the wheat from Ukraine or the baby formula shortage. Did you know that 85% of baby formula came from China, the world market?
Yeah.
I think that's us taking out the weaponized food system. It's not about shortages. It's about doing it right. I hope. Again, that's my hypothesis. And I know because I'm helping. So you guys do your own research. Don't trust me. And I think if you really look, I think you'll feel good about the situation and what's coming. I'm excited about the future.
All right. I'll see you tomorrow, Kevin. Thank you so much, honey. All right. Well, he's always very entertaining and he always has all kinds of information. And like he said, we're going to be on his show tomorrow, Mike Gill and myself. So we're going to have Mike with us as well. It's going to be fun, I'm sure, and entertaining because Mike and Kevin, Lord, y'all pray for me. So anyways, but I appreciate your time today, and we'll see you right here next time on the Michelle Moore Show.
Are you tired of all the pills in your medicine cabinet? I'm Linda Bamber Olson, the creator of the Wav Watch, a more natural approach with 1,000 frequencies for mind and body. People have used the Wav Watch for kidney stones, arteries, blood, immune system, vagus nerve, myocarditis, allergies, colds and flu, ADD and ADHD, strokes, Parkinson's, carpal tunnel, thyroid, Lyme disease, and so much more. Wav Watch has a 1-year manufacturer's warranty for defects and flaws, and you can also upgrade to an additional warranty for water damage and breakage. Are you tired of all your pills and endless trips to the pharmacy? Why not try the Wav Watch with 1,000 different self-care ideas and put your mind at ease?
Just go to wavewatch.com and check